Hey guys, hope everyone's having a good morning. This I know this one was kind of short notice. Kind of got the shared social media post with Jason. Jason's always good about doing that, and I tried to share one on the various Facebook groups. So I'll kind of expect people to be jumping in and out. But we've got some questions already that we've saved from a prior Jason Holmes post. But we've got several topics that the guests today are wanting to cover because they were a part of said incidents. But we've got one guest that is joining us for the first time, and we've got another guest that I believe this is his third time with us, if I'm not mistaken. We've got then Captain Brian Sweet with the Pink Panthers, and he was SF before aviation. And we've got Mr. Joseph Woody Woodard, also a Pink Panther, and which is Cobra Attack Helicopter Company, 361st. And before I jibber jabber and mess anything up more, I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Brian here and let him introduce himself to you guys, and we'll let Mr. Woody take over from there.
Okay. I was at Tailwind, I was the operations officer, Panther 3 for the 361st Aviation. And Woody and I flew together on Monday, the 14th of September, 1970, on the extraction. To backtrack, I got into Special Forces out of Corps of Engineers after OCS, November 1966. Went to jump school at Fort Benning, December of 66. I was in the third group at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I was in the Special Forces Officer Qualification course that graduated June of 1967 at Fort Bragg. One of my classmates was Captain Eugene McCarley, who led the Mike Force on the ground at Operation Tailwind.
Hatchet Force.
Yeah, Hatchet Force. Yeah. I always equalize them in my head.
They kind of did the same thing, except they were SOG's Mike Force, kind of.
Yeah. That summer, I had orders to go to Vietnam with a stop at the Jungle Training School, Warfare Training School in Panama in August of 67. But prior to leaving Fort Bragg, I took the flight school physical and qualification thing. And while I was on leave out in California, I received orders to flight school. So I had to call my branch, and they said, well, we'll send you to flight school, TDY en route, when you get done in Vietnam next year. So that's what happened. I wound up in the 199th Light Infantry Brigade, 87th Engineer Company, platoon leader, operating out of Long Binh and Na Bay, south of Saigon, where the refineries are. Right after Tet of 68, January 31st, turned out I was the only Special Forces qualified engineer lieutenant in Vietnam. So they sent me to the 31st Engineer Detachment, 5th Special Forces Group, and I was a KB team leader. Finished rebuilding a camp called Apmedian 2. I think it was A443 maybe. They had relocated and moved from an older camp out near the Cambodian border. And then I went to Camp Tonleshan in 3 Corps between Xi'an, where the 1st Infantry Division was, and Tay Ninh, where the 24th Infantry Division was, on the Saigon River, where it emerges from Cambodia. I derossed from that first tour in August of 1967, started flight school at Fort Walters, Texas, Primary Helicopter Flight School, class 6918. And one of my classmates there was a Marine Lieutenant, Donald M. Persky, who later on we'll see in Operation Tailwind.
Wow,
So, uh,
that's two now.
I finished up the basic helicopter training at Hunter Army Airfield
Sure.
in Savannah, Georgia, and then went to Cobra Hall there and took a Cobra transition and wound up going back through Vietnam in October of 1969. Joined the Pink Panthers about mid-October of '69, and I extended for a couple of months left, I believe, December of 1970, and Woody arrived in 1970.
Wow. So when, excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat today. So you actually were attached to did you say the 199th or the 196th Light Infantry Brigade?
199th Light Infantry Brigade, Red Catchers, based out of Long Bend,
Wow.
north end of Long Bend on the way to Swan Lock.
Wow. I've seen a lot of pictures. There's in my opinion it's corny, or a lot of people say it's corny. I like it, and I've turned several of the people who watch the show or the interviews onto it, and that they're a group from the 196 who find their way into SOG, which is not how it happened, their entire platoon. But once that was out, I started looking into the 196 and the 199, and they both units got into it. I mean, they definitely fought it out with the NVA and the VC a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, them and the 173rd Airborne Brigade, I think they were all up there in that same area. So,
I would put, as a matter of fact, as we're moving on, I would put the 196th and the 173rd up there with medal counts and DSCs and such as that with the men in special forces. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't realize how many medals were earned up in those hills at Dak To, up north in Two Corps. I mean, there was a lot of action going on, and especially in the time you were there getting ready for the Tet Offensive and all of that. I can only imagine what it must have been. Did you say, I didn't catch the date you got in country. Were you in country for Tet, or did you get there as Tet had ended?
I got there in August of '67. Tet was January
60.
31st, '68. I remember we got a briefing late afternoon of the 31st saying they thought the stuff was going to hit the fan that night. So we had a water tower in our compound. I put a 50 cal up there, and we got out on the perimeter and were waiting for it. Jets from Benoit dropped a bunch of napalm just across from the town. Crispy crittered a bunch of NVA. A couple days later, I was out, met a guy from headquarters there in Long Bend of the MACV or in Saigon, and he and another guy were picking up bloated dead bodies that were crawling with maggots, and they were using Romex wire around the neck and grabbing them by the feet, and tossing them into a truck. And he asked me if I could do him a favor, and I said, what? And he said, well, there's all these guys that got burnt out there on the other side of town. Can you do something with them? I said, yeah, I can get a bulldozer and my platoon and a bucket loader, and we'll do a mass grave. So we did it.
Holy cow! And there, that shows you. I mean, guys, that's a lot of bodies there, and a lot of NVA coming after these guys, and for them to have to do it like that, which usually what happened, because if they couldn't drag the NVA out and get them out and bury them, the NVA would put their own in mass graves, slit their throat, their belly, so it wouldn't explode in the jungle and give away locations. So if they didn't get them out, they didn't care for them. So I mean,
yeah. Well, after 2 or 3 days, in that heat and humidity, they
Woo!
get pretty ripe. You remember that smell the rest of your life. And the amazing thing is your scrotum swells up to where it busts out of your pants. And, it's just really a lurid looking scene.
Man, and you not only the action going on here, but you being SF qualified, an engineer with a light infantry brigade, shall we say, an infantry unit, fighting it out. Did did you come across any other SF men, or were you the like you said that whole time the only SF man you came across while you were with the
Uh,
199?
pretty much, I didn't, all the A teams were out near the borders and stuff. There was a B team there in Benoit,
Yep.
and I did later on have contact with them there in the latter part of '68. Um, my platoon supported the Second of the Third Infantry, the Old Guard at Na Bay, and I'd send out two guys with the infantry patrols with demolitions, and you know that area was more like the Delta, lots of water obstacles and things, and so you go out and patrol and get wet, get dry, get wet, get dry, and forever repairing roads and stuff down there. They were washing out. Uh,
Man, oh
stole
man.
stole a little bulldozer, a little D4 from the South Vietnamese. I'll admit it now. And we took it out by sky crane to dig bunkers when the 199th went out to set up a base camp.
Wow, that famous SF scrounging ability coming into full effect.
Wheeling and dealing.
Absolutely. As we're moving on to get into the aviation side of things, I'd be remiss not to ask at this point in time, what is your weapon? What are you carrying? Are you carrying a M16? Have you gotten a Car 15, a sidearm,
Well,
or
in the 199th, I had a M16. Uh, we carried AR-15s in the Cobras in the 199. I mean, in the 361st. Uh, I had an AK-47 when I was out at Tonleshan. Actually, I had several. That's one of the things we used to horse trade with, and skulls and stuff like that.
wow. That's always interesting about early guys' weapon choices, and especially also the pilot's weapon choices. But we usually find out it's the car, so y'all can fold it down and
Yeah,
get it in there comfortably.
yeah. Plus a
What?
38 pistol.
Yeah, true that, and that's you'd almost have as better luck throwing it at them at that point in time. Uh, how how long is it a full? Were SF tours at this time 12 months?
Yeah,
And
everybody I think was, unless you
okay,
extended.
okay. Did you do your 12 months and know immediately, since you had gotten word about the aviation side of things, you were going to flight school, or how did your exit from Vietnam go?
Took a nice R&R in Bangkok right about the time the Russians put down that Czechoslovakian new government, and went from there. 30 days leave all over the country, Baltimore, different places, North Carolina, and
That's good stuff. So,
pick,
did
pick,
you go ahead? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
uh, I had to go pick up my '66 Impala Super Sport from my dad's place in Downers Grove outside of Chicago, and I remember in the airport there seeing the Democratic Convention riot, and that I didn't. That kind of stuck with me, and
That was
so I decided I'd vote for Nixon that year.
that was a I read Hunter Thompson, Robert McFall. I don't know if y'all know Mr. McFall, but he said hello to both of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob
Bob.
was one of our Pink Panthers, and
Oh.
he actually
Yeah.
does all of our stuff now to communicate with each other.
Oh, wow. Glad you're watching, Mr. Robert. If you'd ever like to come on and speak or come on with Mr. Woody or Mr. Brian, we'd love to have you. Uh, Going on with that, or so after you get to kind of enjoy and get over your tour with the 199th, how soon are you in an aircraft starting to train or
Well, I was in the 5th group the last half of that tour.
oh, okay, moved
And
over to the 5th.
that's their 31st Engineer Detachment at Nha Trang.
36 engineer detachment. I did not know they had an
30,
engineer.
31st.
31st.
Yeah.
There we go.
They ran 4 KB teams, each corps, each tactical corps, basically. And they had an engineer officer at each B team in each corps, and kind of coordinated with him.
Wow. Learning something literally every day. I learn something new from you guys every single time I talk to you guys. So after your stint with 5th group, where's your first shall we go ahead and just say aircraft training? What year is this taking place? Are you starting to get into heading to the Pink
Late,
Panthers?
late 69, Fort Walters, Texas, class 6918, with Marine Lieutenant Don N. Persky in that class. So.
We might get lucky, and I might actually have a photo of Don Persky with who's the man that wrote the latest Tailwind book, Mr. Woody?
Pensick?
Yeah, Mr. Barry.
It's
I think
Barry.
Barry Pinchuk. Yeah, I think I've got a photo
Yes.
of that that I'll bring up when we're getting into Tailwind. And very interesting that there you went through SF officer course with Mr. Gene McCarley, and there you went through flight training with Mr. Persky there, and you would later meet up with them for one of the in my opinion, especially Vietnam, but I think overall one of the most historic, other than the Sante raid, one of the most historic missions SF or any U.S. troop, aviation and ground wise, has ever run. So,
And it always struck me that having known those 2 guys prior, that somehow the hand of fate was steering us all towards that point, you know.
that it is that is a wild twist of fate, shall we say? So how and I think Mr. Woody said, and I think we've heard from other pilots saying, or it may have been the Marine pilots talking to us about only the best, shall we say, of the class gets their choice, or gets either jets if you're fixed wing, or Cobras if you're rotary wing. Was that the case with you guys? Did you have to score pretty high to get your choice of aircraft?
Yeah, I guess.
We
that and
we
Chinooks,
did an
right?
warrant officer flight program. The top part of the classes, they got offered Chinook training, transition, Cobra transition.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So, I mean, did y'all know right away? Well, I know Mr. Woody a little bit about his story that he can cover, but did you know right away all that you wanted to be a Cobra attack helicopter? You didn't want any part of the slicks, anything you wanted a Cobra to get after the enemy with?
Yeah, I wanted that Cobra, but turned out when I got to the 361st, the 189th lift company there in the 52nd was short on pilots, so they loaned all of us out as co-pilots on the lift aircraft for a couple of months. So went out to I remember having to go out to the Ia Drang Valley in the mountains there, big hover holes and stuff. I don't really want to do that much longer. I can remember later on listening in on the 170th FM radios when they were doing extractions, and you'd hear the standby slip pilots razzing the guy that was sweating it out doing the extraction, like, hey, if you don't make it back, can I have your stereo gear? And what's your wife's phone number? Stuff like that.
I always got a kick at guys saying stuff like that. Hey, can I have your Rolex or your gold Buddha amulet or what have you? You're not going to need it anymore. I was like, God, how can you say that to them on the way out like that?
Yeah, gallows humor.
But I was about to say the darkest humor I've ever heard, and they loved it. And some of them I love, but other times I laugh, and I'm still like, Jesus, how can you guys say that to each other? God, that and several just popped into my head that I've laughed about. So excuse me. We kind of know the ground men because again we've had at least 97% of the men on here were ground or either Marine ground units. Where do you come into Vietnam on your aviation tour at? Where are you landing and then heading to?
Well, I came in, in the usual jet from the States with various stops along the way to Saigon and then Tan Son Nhut and then out to Long Binh at the replacement center, and got sent up on a C-130 from Bien Hoa to Pleiku and then over to Camp Holloway and the 361st. Had no idea what they were.
Wow. So Pleiku comes up not only for you guys, but CCC and such. How far is Pleiku to Camp Holloway?
5 miles, maybe.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. Y'all saying it was literally a hop, skip, and a jump, especially in an aircraft.
Yeah, you could see the runway over at Bien Hoa Air Force Base from Holloway.
Yep. Wow. Brian knows a lot about that.
I used to do a lot of
to take our maintenance slick over to see the nurses over at Pleiku Air Base at night.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian.
Yeah, that's okay.
Good man. Good man.
Had to do something in my spare time.
There you go. Can't idle hands or what is it? The Devil's
Hands
Playground.
Yeah. So the nurses became my playground.
There you go.
One nurse in particular.
Hey, there you go. Okay, that's nice. You gotta decompress somehow, and at least you're not out there going crazy. Got the company of a fine lady. So you get to Camp Holloway, and
that Pleiku area was kind of weird. We used to go over to the Air Force PX, and I remember seeing Al Gore in there. He was a Spec 4. He was a writer for the Stars and the Stripes. So he comes into the PX, and he's got 2 armed guards with him.
Wow.
His father was a senator at that time from Tennessee. I couldn't believe it.
That is, what did you say that guy's name was?
Al Gore.
Al Gore, the our vice president. He wanted to be president. Yes. Wow. Yeah. That's weird because I just saw a Facebook post about him being a war correspondent and somebody who just passed away claiming they were and got outed as a fraud.
He was a Spec 4 living in a general's trailer out on one of the engineer compounds.
Jeez.
He later went to Fort Rucker, and somebody in the Pink Panthers saw him hitchhiking and picked him up one time. I forget who it was.
Gore was down here at Fort Rucker?
Yeah.
Jeez Louise. I don't know if I told you, but I'm literally, 8 miles from the front gates.
Yeah. Never been to Mother Rucker. Never got there.
It's growing up now. I'm sure Woody can tell you how desolate things were back in the day.
Yeah, there was hardly anything there, back in '69.
Yeah. Enterprise and all that. Yeah.
Oh, Enterprise is now a unofficial military town because of Fort Rucker. It's grown quite a bit now.
Yeah.
It's a nice little area.
I guess it's Fort Novosel now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hmm.
I'm glad. I mean, I wish they wouldn't have changed it, but at least they named it after a man who not only served the medal, earned the Medal of Honor, but also worked and trained at Fort Rucker. So we at least.
It's
Yeah,
kind
he
of
was
strange.
he was a great guy. He taught in the advanced course when I went through there at Fort Rucker.
Okay,
He
I
taught some
thought I
classes.
remember. I thought I remember that. That's very interesting. What
What I think's
unit
weird-
was he with?
Al Gore?
No,
Novosel?
Mr. Novosel. Yeah.
He was a medevac pilot
Oh,
in
good
Vietnam.
I should look that up. He's earned the Medal of Honor. I can't believe I just asked you all that. Shame on me.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry. I jumped.
What I think's weird is, they changed Fort Hood, Fort Polk, Fort Bragg to non-Confederate names, but Fort Stewart's still Fort Stewart. Haven't figured that one out.
I've not figured any of this out. I mean, I know what they're doing, but I've not figured out why switching one name for one name is. Yeah, I just don't understand it. I mean, I know it's idiocracy, but other than that, it's just it's way over my head. But
Hey, Bud.
yes.
If there are any other Panthers that are viewing this, could you ask them to go ahead and identify themselves so we'll know who?
Yes, any
involved.
361st men or veterans that know Mr. Brian or Mr. Woody, please leave a comment if y'all can. If y'all know how to do it on the live comments. If not, watch the video and leave a comment in the comment section. So either I can get in touch with you or I can get you in touch with Mr. Woody or Mr. Brian, please. Okay. I got lost here. We've gotten to Camp Holloway, and how soon are you immediately flying, or what's your process to getting into the bird?
Well, I became the third platoon leader, Panther 3-6, right off the bat, and
wow.
The operations officer at that time took me out on a RT team insertion in Laos from Dak To. So I think we went to the Bra the first time. So it's kind of an eye opener.
You can say that again. The bra is, as everyone should know from your readings, it literally looked like a woman's assets there in the land structure with the curvatures on the map. So.
Yeah, right by the Balvins Massif or Balvins Plateau, and the river made like a double curve.
There is
a
young captain right there. Sorry for the graininess. I'll get it cleaned up and get it posted for you guys wanting to see more Cobra photos on Instagram. So do you guys get, I believe I remember Mr. Woody saying it's usually a one-time checkout unless you do something terribly catastrophic. So you get your checkout flight on an insertion. And then with you being platoon leader, are you flying every day or you got?
Yeah, just about every day, but front seat for quite a while.
And again, to clarify, can you guys explain front seat in a Cobra, what that job is, back seat Cobra, what that job is for us, for viewers?
Well, it's dual controls. You can do just about anything from the front seat that you can do in the back seat. Usually the guy in the back fires the rocket or the 40 millimeter if you have it. Guy in the front seat does the turret with the 40 millimeter grenade launchers and the 7.62 minigun. If you don't have a front seat pilot, you had to put a 50-pound sandbag in that seat to fly it.
And you have to put weight up there just for the center of gravity.
Yeah, and the tail rotor was on the
There were times
left
when
side.
the front seater would get wounded, and then medevac them out, and you wouldn't have anybody to fly back to Holloway with. So
Yeah.
you had to put some weight up there.
Yeah, and the density altitude was so bad there because of the altitude and the heat that you'd run out of right pedals. So I think they switched the rotor blade over from the left side, the tail rotor over from the left side to the right side. That got better.
Wow.
They
this
did. Yeah,
is...
our
Go
front
ahead.
seaters were primarily, if the back seater would get shot, he had to control so he could bring the aircraft back, but he could still fly up there, no problem. He fired the turret, which was the 7.62 millimeter minigun that shot 4,000 rounds a minute, and then he shot the 40 millimeter grenade launcher, which shot 300 grenades per minute, and then on the wing stores, right, the turret, and on the wing stores we carried 19 shot pods and 7 shot rocket pods. You can see them in that picture there.
Yeah.
And you
usually
put,
the outboard was flechettes or Willie Pete.
Yeah,
and
if you were doing an insertion, we'd put flechettes on the outboard.
Yeah.
And extraction, we'd put HE on the outboard because you didn't want to use nails around friendly troops.
Yeah. And the inboard stores were the 2.38 rockets, about the equivalent of a 105 millimeter artillery howitzer round, and you had 38 of those. And if the 40 millimeter Vulcan was cannon was on it,
that was a
take
20
off,
millimeter.
Or 20 millimeter, right? Sorry.
20 millimeter on the wing store.
It would take the place of that right inboard pod.
Jeez.
Well, it's on the left inboard pod.
Oh, sorry.
And when we first came out with the 20 millimeter, if you fired it, the front seater's door would come open.
Yeah.
The ammo bay door would pop down and your SAS would pop off. And the SAS is a stability system, so you got a little rocky, and the noise kind of startled you a little bit in the front seat, and then the ammo door. But later on, they came and they reinforced the front seater's door, and they reinforced the ammo bay door, and they made the SAS so it wouldn't kick off every time you fired it.
Yeah, you could cut down trees with that thing. I liked it.
Yeah, it was very accurate. It was like a minigun almost, because you could watch the rounds. You could walk them wherever you wanted, just by kicking it out of trim or moving the front of the aircraft around.
When they beefed up that ammo door, you could actually pick somebody up and have them ride on that door out of an area.
You bet.
Wow, that's I get this question, and I think y'all may have seen this since we're talking about the birds and everything. People and there's a lot of questions about this, but I figured I'd go ahead and ask this one because it's all over anytime I post a picture of a Cobra. I don't know what model. I apologize, viewer, guy who follows me on Twitter. I couldn't remember the model.
AH1G.
He was curious. Could y'all in fact do a loop?
Not technically.
No, not really.
You could kind of side it.
You could roll it over pretty good.
Yeah.
Kind of barrel roll it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do a wing over. You come over and you go into a dive like that.
I bet that's a beautiful thing, seeing that thing roll in like that, especially if you're on the ground. God almighty.
Yeah, you could get up to about 190, I think, doing that, right?
190 was the VNE, but you could only do that if you didn't have rocket pods and you were in a dive. Normally, we cruised around 160 mile an hour.
Yeah.
And you have to remember, with our tactics, when we got out into the AO, we flew the Cobras on top of the trees. We were 1 or 2 feet above the trees. And that way we could get closer air support to, if the slick took fire, we could put rockets down instantly because we were right there behind them.
Yeah.
They would get in our gun pattern, and we would follow them in with one of the aircraft. If they started taking fire, we'd immediately put rockets or minigun out or around them, to get the bad guys' heads down.
Yeah, you get two aircraft in a racetrack pattern so that as the one aircraft was braking, say left, the guy behind him would be lined up ready to shoot.
And if you've ever heard the audio on the dual prairie fire, you can tell how we operated as far as when we break, we'd call braking, and the outbound Cobra would call inbound. So we always knew we had somebody facing the LZ at all times, facing the slick that was inbound or sitting in there, waiting for the team members to strap in, do whatever they had to do to get them out.
I want to pull this up real quick because this, before I forget it, I know it's a bit off, but there is a wonderful photo, and I've been searching while y'all been speaking. There's two incidents I want to bring up right here, and see what y'all think. There's actual photo evidence of this one that I know of, and there one might be somewhere on here, but there is a photo of a Cobra pilot that has gone down. His flight, what's it called? Wingman has gone down. He lands, he pops a canopy, is shooting either his Car 15 or his pistol. The pilot runs over and effectively gets on, I think, is that the ammo bay door?
Yep, that's
Yeah,
it.
it sure is.
There's a great photo of a Cobra pilot riding home on an ammo bay door. Are y'all familiar with that story?
Yep, yes.
Okay. I mean, is that? I mean, that's no BS. That's feasible because people all the time on the internet say
that's
that's
definitely
total
happened.
garbage.
I don't
Okay.
think, I don't know if we had it in the Pink Panthers. I can't remember anybody that did it, but
No, but it was being done. Yes.
right.
I
I've
think
got-
it was done.
the Air Cab did it. I think.
Here's another crazy one for y'all that I was curious about. If you ever heard anything about this, Mr. Larry Taylor with his AH-1 Cobra it landed in the middle of a firefight to allow a 4-man LRP unit to jump on his skids and ride skids out.
Pretty hairy
Sounds
ride.
good. I've never heard of that one, but it'd be interesting. He's in a Huey right there.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
yes,
for
sir.
sure.
Yes, sir. It says he did 2 tours. He did this in 61 when he met up with the LRP team on June 18th of 68. And they've no ammo. The team's literally, they're about to die, and he knows it and lands right in the middle of them. By the end of the war, 1st Squadron, 4th U.S. Cav, 1st Infantry Division. 44 air medals.
I haven't heard that
Cross of
story, but
Gallantry.
I need to read up on it.
Yeah. New one on me.
Woo! 2,000 combat missions, 4 distinguished flying crosses. Got his Silver Star was upgraded to the Medal of Honor.
That's great.
And Biden
Sounds like he deserved it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I absolutely love when they look back at you guys. I know there's a lot of recon and ground men that deserve the Medal of Honor, but pilot-wise, I think y'all were, not to be mean and say negative things, but I think they overlooked y'all for Medal of Honor events. Jim Fleming got one, we know, with the Green Hornets, but I think there's a lot of y'all that deserved more than y'all got for saving and doing stuff that was above the call of duty.
Well, the key to
there's
that
very
was
few of them, that's for sure.
the key to all those awards and decorations was who you had
in your corner.
Writing them up.
You had writing them up.
Yeah, we had a guy named Hal Mans that did a great job, and then he got shot, and things kind of went in the lurch, and I don't know who picked it up after that.
That's funny you said that. The CCC Recon Men had a guy who actually wrote Bob Howard's final one that he got the medal for after three attempts. Mr. Mike Buckland. No. I'm messing that up. Not Mike Buckland. Alan Farrell, who was S2, former Hatchet Forces, had a college degree, spoke French, Vietnamese, and taught himself Montagnard, and he wrote it up, and that was the final one. So it's absolutely who you get to write it up.
Yeah, Montagnard Rade is kind of hard.
Oh, he's a brilliant. He's the headmaster at VMI right now. Old school guy and just salt of the earth.
A lot of our missions were hard to write up because you couldn't put where you were.
And no
we were
witnesses.
in Laos, but yet there was no Americans in Laos.
Yeah.
So that was kind of hard.
Yeah, they euphemized saying in the border region.
What do y'all think about the? I know we've asked Woody at the very first one because I was watching some this morning. How much work were y'all doing in country?
The one platoon would be on 2-corps standby every day, and the other 2 platoons would rotate, and the other 2 would be out with CCC. The 2-corps standby was 4th Infantry Division. Occasionally went down to Bamituit and worked out of there. I remember Hal Manns and I went down to Bamituit one time and killed several hundred people. It turned out they were NVA hospital. Don't feel so good about that now, but bumper day.
I mean, I know that probably does kind of hit hard, but you took a lot of people out of the battlefield, and Lord knows during Tet, they pulled some evil stuff, strapping suicide satchel charges and running into naval hospital wings and blowing themselves up. So all's fair in war and bloodshed.
Yep. Yeah, that's why I don't feel bad about sawdust.
There you go, and we'll tiptoe on that when we get there, which we're leading into now. Guys, keep the.
Say again, buddy.
Yeah, we're about to get
lost
to
you guys for a minute.
Oh, okay. Guys, keep the questions coming. These are great. We're about to get into them. We're kind of talking about some stuff we already had pre-planned here. How long until Mr. Bryan, until you come across this gentleman speaking with us today, Mr. Woody?
Oh, about the spring of 1970?
It was the summer of 1970.
Yeah.
And then the first time I flew with Bryan, I was flying the front seat, and it was on Tailwind.
that was literally y'all's
officer.
Yep, Monday the 14th of September, 1970.
Yep.
Holy cow!
Yeah, I was a 19-year-old killer Cobra pilot then.
And I
couldn't even grow a mustache.
I can't either. Still 30.
And I was an old 24-year-old seasoned whatever.
Yeah, SF a tour under your belt already. I mean, geez Louise, that's one of the neater things I think we've come across is having a commander that it was former SF that was flying now. I've got some interesting photos that I want to bring up.
We had 3 or 4 people in the Panthers that were former Special Forces. Skip McFarland, Art Childers.
I've heard
Bryan probably knows more.
Yeah. Yeah, there were scattered around Camp Holloway. There were quite a few in different units. Slick pilots, and I think a Chinook pilot. And I think one of the Bird Dog guys was ex-Special Forces too.
Well, I had a great picture that I was about to pull up. It's of an incident that happened. I'll go ahead and pull this up. This is a Cobra that had a crash, and they're getting a Chinook to pull it out. But
I had many a Cobra flown back underneath the Chinook.
Yeah.
And this is literally right on the tarmac at outside Khartoum, right there.
Yeah, that's going to maintenance. There was one of my high school classmates was a pilot in that shrimp boat Chinook unit there. We used to see each other at the officers club occasionally.
And I had a great one of a Loach, and for some unknown reason it's not showing up, but this is them literally hooking everything up, and the other photo was them leaving with it. But the photo I had and was going to show was the Cobras and a Loach sitting together on the CCC compound. Did you guys do much either work with Loaches, aka pink team work,
No,
or
not at all?
Not at
we
all.
were strictly in support of the 170th and the 57th Gladiators and CCC. That was
I
our
wonder-
main mission.
Yeah. One time I did a sniffer mission where
Oh.
they had the slick picking up monkey urine smells, I guess, or people's urine smells, and we had to shoot up the spot that he marked, and I had no idea.
They were hanging. I've heard from some of the recon men that ended up in Saigon at HQ. They found out they were hanging buckets of pee and were throwing the trackers off.
Yeah.
Ingenious.
Monkeys would set them off. I remember talking to the guy that got captured in '72, the Pink Panther, and he said their motor parks, Bill Reeder, we had no idea where they were. Nothing ever came close to them. As far as the bombing on the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
And is that Mr. Bill right here with Lieutenant?
Yep.
Okay.
No.
No?
No, that's
It could be Bill with
the cab patch,
Jones,
or
maybe.
No, he was a Mohawk pilot his first tour.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Southern California.
And he also
Edison.
got shot down in Laos his first tour.
Yeah, and a Mohawk. Yeah, he's from Lake Arrowhead, right by me. He was a lineman for Southern California Edison Electric before he went in the Army.
Yeah, if you get a chance, and I think I sent that book to you, Bud, to read.
You did. I was glad you're mentioning that right now. That's
that Bill wrote, and it talks about his time with the 361st, and it talks about the day he got shot down. His front seater was killed. Bill was captured the next day or day after. He wasn't on the ground very long. Well, he was on the ground a long time because they walked him to Hanoi.
He had a broken back too, all through all.
Oh yeah, the book just, it's amazing how much the human body can take, and Bill puts it all in that book. He did a great job on the book. Yeah, that's the book.
Yeah, and that is Colonel Reeder right there when he was a lieutenant, it says. Was just looking that up, the photo of him in front of his bird. But guys, Jocko's actually had Colonel Reeder on before. So if you guys skip over stuff that's not SOG oriented, Google Colonel William Reeder, or it might be Bill Reeder on Jocko's, and check that out, because
it's a good, excellent podcast too.
He goes into, in fact, you need to buy the book, but if I know times are hard, you get a lot of the hard stuff. I mean, he's not afraid of giving away too much of his book in the podcast. He speaks about the tiger cages, seeing American aircraft, hoping the long walks, people being executed. I mean,
and he often wondered why his wingman didn't come in to get him. And his wingman was Steve Allen, and Steve passed away last month. But Steve had taken a 50 round through the lung. He tried to go in and get him, and I can remember they reunited after the war, after Bill was released, at one of our reunions.
Jeez, 50 through the lung. Yeah, no wonder he didn't end up stopping. God almighty, getting in there. So
he was lucky to be alive.
Yeah, that's the understatement of the century. Wow. So as we're getting into, y'all are meeting, and literally y'all's first time flying together is Tailwind. This is some of the Marines and well, that's an Army bird right there blowing up.
Those are Army Cobras right there. Yeah,
okay.
It was an Army Cobra 032 that was on fire there. It got hit by a mortar.
I believe.
I was sitting inside the wire getting a suntan on top of the ammo bunker. That's Pete Gotch. That's the pilot.
Yeah, I was about to say, I thought you remembered or telling me that people started running through the ditches to get into the wire, and
Pete had actually been sitting in the back seat, and I think he heard the round come out, and then he jumped out and headed for the ditch when it hit the Cobra.
God almighty. Good. I mean, y'all get used to hearing and IDing it. Do I have Tailwind? I don't have it. I'll bring it up on the internet. Guys, you need to get Mr. Barry's book on Operation Tailwind because he's got a lot of great photos. That was one of those photos that he sent me. But
and that book is the best book that I've read about the aviation assets on Tailwind. He did an excellent job.
He does he does cover his tour, but he goes into great detail and effort to not only, as Mr. Woody said, to get the ground, all aspects of the ground, but he's got coveys, he's got attack helicopters, he's got slick pilots. I mean, he does all he can to get the air aspect covered, and I think, as Mr. Woody said, wonderful job, wonderful.
And I had some pictures of Tailwind, but I didn't get them to him in time when I didn't know he was making that book. Remember those ones I sent you, Bud, on the 53 that Brian and I blew up and Terry Crump blew up?
I am gonna pull that up right now, guys.
Yeah,
that's
the one that that's the one that Penske was flying.
Right, sure is. And he did an excellent job because he had lost one engine coming out of the LZ, and then he lost the other engine, and he auto-rotated down into this valley next to the river. And on the other photo, it shows before we blew it up. And then the second, that one there, it's down there. It's you can't pick it out, but it's down there. And then another crew came in and got all the crew members and the team members that were on board out. And then they gave us clearance to go in and blow it up because it was in Laos. There's no way we were going to recover it. And so Brian rolled in with rockets, and Terry Crump had rockets, and I shot up 40 millimeter in a minigun, and then I had nothing else to do, so I took pictures.
Wow! Yeah. Thank God you did, because this is one of the I mean, they took a lot of great photos on Tailwind, but this is a great photo of Tailwind and the aftermath of Doc Paget and Gary going down.
I can't say enough good things about that Marine pilot. I mean, he did an excellent job getting that big aircraft down into that by the river.
Yeah. Well, by the time you finished helicopter training, you'd done literally thousands of auto rotations to the ground, power off. They don't do them anymore in flight school. So he was trained well.
He was trained well, plus he was fully loaded. I mean, that thing was heavy.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a wonder more of those men didn't die. Sadly, they did lose one Montagnard when it came over on top of him and crushed him, but they kept everyone alive, and it's a testament to that Marine pilot.
He got a Silver Star for that day.
Thank goodness. Well deserved.
He and Pensek, I think, flew for United Airlines after the war.
I had forgotten he mentioned a man ended up working that worked with him. They ended up bumping into each other after a while and realized they were on Tailwind together.
Yeah.
Let's see. We want to cover. We need to talk a little bit about. First, let's cover the briefing for Mr. Brian talking about the briefing, and then maybe a great segue before questions. We can do Mr. Howard and the Halo help that you put out for RT Washington, Mr. Woody.
Right. Yeah, it was Howard Sugar. Right.
Yes, sir. Mr. Brian, would you like to kind of explain to what the briefing? I know some stuff might be classified. I don't know, but.
It's no longer now. It's been so long.
Okay. But could you explain what was going on that day? What you were covering?
Well, to backtrack just a little bit, I was the operations officer. So Thursday, the 10th of September, I was told our 4 Cobras that normally flew for CCC would be on standby because Scarface Cobras would be with the CH-53 lift ships on the Friday the 11th, the insertion day. Friday night, the 11th, I got told we were back on because Scarface had too much battle damage to really do much the next day. I think they got back up there on Sunday at least, maybe even Saturday, some of them. And I spent the next couple of days bringing up extra aircraft and crews for stuff that got shot up. And we were scrounging through pilots and spare birds to keep going. Anyway, later on in the afternoon of the Sunday, the 13th of September, there was a briefing at New Dock Toe for all the air crew. And a guy without a uniform, who I assume was CIA, I think I heard somebody call him Larry. He gave a briefing on this sawdust agent. And he said several things that stuck with me over the years. He said it was an incapacitating agent, which was allowed under that treaty we just signed, like tear gas. And I asked him how long it would incapacitate somebody for, and he said 12 to 24 hours, which I thought was kind of weird. Since in the chemical warfare kits, atropine was the antidote for a nerve agent, and Cobras have tandem seating, so you need to have that atropine out if you're going to use it prior, because the front seater and the back seater couldn't reach each other. And we were having to wear gas masks and no exposed skin. And he said, don't use atropine and under any circumstances. And that stuck with me for years. I later became a medical doctor, and I found out atropine blocks the action of Narcan or naloxone, which is how you revive people that had an opiate overdose. And
holy cow!
He told me, he said, "Oh, you guys have gas masks," and that stuck with me. And I later found out about that early October '69 incident at the Special Forces camp at Dak Siang. Let's see. Do you remember anything else about that briefing, Woody?
No, I sure don't. I do remember the gas mask because we actually wore them on the extraction, or I did, for about 2 minutes.
Yeah,
and they were just so cumbersome, you couldn't see out of them. They'd fog up. So we just took them off.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of weird. You know, normally when we were flying out, we'd put one of the radios on the Armed Forces Radio Network, Vietnam, and, you know, have cruising music while we flew. And I remember on the way out, they had a little tape of Nixon talking about that chemical warfare treaty we just signed, which I thought was kind of weird. And I later, that Russian theater hostage unit rescue in Moscow in 2002, the Russians used a gas they pumped into the theater called Kolokil-1, which was a couple of fentanyl-based animal tranquilizers, rifentamil and carfentanil, and probably an anesthetic base of either halothane or ketamine or both, and some tear gas, I think. I think we used CNCS out there to kind of muddy up the waters. I think the A1Es came in parallel on the extraction, which was on Laos Route 165, which goes from the Mekong River to the Asho Valley north of Dak Siang. And the A1Es came in on each side, and I think the wing stores closest to the troops, they dropped CNCS CBU bomblets, and the wing that was outboard from the troops dropped CBU bomblets of the sawdust agent. It was white, heavier than air. I saw a couple of Montagnards shooting, looked like unconscious NVA on the ground in the head. They weren't seizing and frothing at the mouth like a nerve gas would do. So, you know, when CNN said sarin in 1999 or 98, whenever that was, I knew that wasn't true. But I think we all decided to lay low after that and not talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Shepard and And Mr. Jim, gosh, is it Morris or who's the Marine helicopter pilot that sued the bejesus out of CNN?
Yeah,
I think it was
remember
James
that.
Morris.
yeah. One
Mike
of the lieutenants on the ground raised a big stink too about
Bernie
shooting that American POW, which was probably a Russian advisor.
Van Buskirk. He
Yeah,
got PNG'd from SOG for some of his things he said he saw or did, and we sadly didn't get Mr. Mike Hagan on, who was on the ground during Tailwind, youngest man on Tailwind, and he mentioned the gas mask and he hated it, didn't want to wear it, but had Gene McCarley made him carry it, and of course, as soon as he steps off the bird, he's immediately shot, and the shot goes right through his gas mask. So immediately he's without a gas mask for the rest of the mission. And he seems to think some of what he encountered gave his cancer that ended up taking his life.
Well, the Montagnards had like wet neckerchiefs over their face, like you do for tear gas. So
They didn't have any masks that would fit the yards. Yeah.
No. So I think the sawdust was kind of away from the troops. There wasn't a lot of wind that morning. And I remember that CH-53 that Persky was flying, Woody thought it took a B-40 rocket. I thought a 50 cal, but I'm not sure. But I think that's what took out the one engine on the LZ and probably damaged the other one, where he could only get about 23 clicks away.
Were you in constant contact with SOG people or CIA people while this is going down?
The Covey writer ran things.
Oh, Mr. Larry White and Shoebox Carpenter, I think, or either Lowell Stevens that day. I know Mr. Larry White, Six Pack, was up there.
Yeah, War Daddy was up there one of those days. I don't remember.
We've got to find out who War Daddy is. I'm going to find that out. War Daddy Covey writer. What Mr. Woody? While he's, I imagine, hearing all the craziness that's going on over these days. What, in your opinion, what's the worst day for the guys on the ground? I mean, I know it's all tough, but as far as a single combat where you've got to come in and actually work a place over for them.
Well, we actually, I think the worst day for them was when we tried to get a medevac ship. It was one of the 170th bikinis in to get out some of the wounded. And then the Cobra that was helping support them was flown by Bob Lewinsky, and our CO was
Major Henry. Yeah.
Terry Henry. And they got shot down.
Terry Henry.
Terry Henry, right.
Yeah.
And they got shot down, and we were unable to get the wounded out at that time.
Yeah, they got the crew out.
Got our crew out, and there was just too much fire at the time, I guess, because
the weather was real bad. It was the monsoon season
it was.
In Laos. So you couldn't depend on anything. You'd get socked in, or things wouldn't work. And we didn't do things at night in Laos.
Can you guys see this? Mr. Gerald
I
Brandon?
can. Is that Gerald?
Yeah.
Okay, I've been communicating with him. He's writing a book on one of our pilots, Panther 3A, Terry Crump, because Terry got seven distinguished flying crosses. Yeah. And I think
Watkins was a platoon leader after
Terry
me.
would like to come on with you after the book is published in about 6 months or so.
Oh,
so once it's published and released, they would like to come on with you, and Gerald can tell about what he's learned, from just communicating with Terry and the other folks on the kind of missions that we did and stuff with the Panthers. So I think this is going to be an excellent book. I've already read manuscript, the raw one, and it's really good. It talks about Terry's DSCs, talks about what was going on in Vietnam at the time, and a little bit of the politics of what units were where doing what. So it's going to be a good book when it comes out. It'll be about 6 months or so.
The last part of the question, James Squatty Watkins succeeded me as the 3rd platoon leader when I moved up to the operations officer. His dad was one of those Air Force recon pilots that flew the, what were those called? The Blackbirds overhead North Vietnam.
The SR-71s.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So
they're high altitude reconnaissance flights. Yeah. His dad flew those.
Wow.
So he'd know when his dad would tell him when he was going to be up.
When I got there,
and
Brian
talk
was
on
already
guard.
an operations officer.
Yeah. Watkins would talk to his dad on guard, like from New Dak To when his dad was flying over North Vietnam. And I always thought that was kind of neat.
That's really cool. Yeah, and absolutely, I would love to have both of them on. Consider it a done deal. Just let me know whenever they're ready, and they've got an open invitation, as well as anybody else that you've got contact with.
And his last part of his question,
Watkins is dead.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, Jim passed away after he retired and stuff. Watkins, and
I think he had a heart
attack
in Italy. He had a heart attack in Italy. I think he was still on active duty.
No, he had a heart attack in Colorado Springs. He
was
riding his bike, trail bike.
And
he sat down under a tree, and he just passed away.
Oh boy!
He became later on in his military career. He got rifted. He went back to be a CW2. I ran into him in Fulda. He was up there with Flash Panther 3-7, and he was a warrant officer then. Yep.
Yeah, I talked to his dad on the telephone once after he died, and it was too bad. He was pretty young when he died.
Oh, weak connection on Woody. He'll be back in a sec. Here he is.
I was going to say on the other thing on Tailwind and atropine was, I don't know if they knew that Special Forces medics at the time, like Gary Rose was a medic on the ground, they used atropine for snakebite. So depending on when you got your atropine, you might not have been in good shape for sawdust. So.
Wow. Well, that's with operations wise, I don't know if you had left country already for Mr. Woody flying support of the Halo, but would you say while your entire time in ops, was this your most hectic and hardest mission to oversee, so to speak?
Yeah, I think it was probably the most complicated one. Yeah.
I can.
Yeah, we had 2 Cobras totally destroyed. We had the one hit by the mortar at Dak To, and we had the one that Bob Lewinsky and Terry Henry was destroyed.
Plus a bunch of shot.
And other ones were shot up, and so Brian had his hands full trying to come up with aircraft and crew. So he did a good job because we were able to put a full complement of Cobras out every day.
Yeah, the maintenance guys did a bang-up job.
They were mad at you.
Yeah.
Wow. My computer and everything has literally just gone dead, gentlemen.
Oh boy.
I see you there.
We can continue for a few minutes. I'm low on battery. I hate that we'll end up having to do a part. Actually, let me plug my phone in. I think I've got my charger right here. Sadly, we'll have to do won't be able to show any pictures, but we can at least cover the the questions and some more of the information. I apologize about that, guys. It completely just went black in here for a minute, and the computer's still not back on. But nonetheless, we were talking about. We were about to be leading into Mr. Howard Sugar and the Halo operation. Mr. Brian, were you still in country for this operation?
I don't
No,
think I was.
No, he was gone by then. This was
70
October 11th, I think, 1971.
Yeah, I'd been gone almost a year by then.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
Brian had been gone.
How much of a considering the secrecy? I mean, not only of all SOG missions, of course, but how? What was your briefing like, or were you literally, was this just another operation where one day you got called while you were on standby and went out?
Well, they didn't put out too much about that mission, only because it was a surprise. You know, they're doing the Halo jump from about 13,000 feet, and it was at night. It was at 2:00 in the morning, and they didn't want word to get out that this might be in the making. So the best thing was just to keep it quiet until we may have known about it the day before, but I'm not sure. But I was on the lead. I was the lead Cobra that day, the morning after they jumped in, and the weather was just terrible. I mean, low ceilings, and so we waited, a good part of the day before we finally just said, "Heck with it, we're going out there." And I had a heavy fire team, and I climbed up through the clouds and got on top, and we rendezvoused with the Cub.
You're breaking up, Woody. I was going to say, I think the reason I got into the 5th Special Forces.
Yeah, we lost him again.
Yeah.
Gosh, I hope we may end up having to put a pin in this if it continues, because I'm not even getting a phone charge on my phone, quite frankly.
Yeah, I was going to backtrack for a second.
Yes.
I think the reason I got smashed up from the 199th to the 5th Group, because I was the only qualified Corps of Engineer Special Forces qualified in Vietnam. It had to do with the Corps of Engineers handled atomic demolition munitions, the dial-a-yield thing. They're about the size of a pony keg of beer. And you can go dial it from 1/10 to a kiloton to, I think, 2 or 5, depending on the model. And it's dialable by the amount of tritium gas and lithium-6. So they're actually a mini hydrogen bomb. And when I got sent to Nha Trang, there was a possibility of a mission to put one of those ADMs in the Mugia Pass in North Vietnam. That stuff came out of North Vietnam onto the Ho Chi Minh Trail, but didn't come off.
Wow. Okay, where were you at, Mr. Woody, before we
I
lost
lost you guys there for a second. Sorry about that.
It's fine.
The weather was bad, and the covey, which was John Plaster was the covey rider, they found a little hole, like a rabbit hole, they went down into, and we followed them down. Came out around some stream. I remember seeing a waterfall I had never seen in the 18 months prior. But so we broke out, and the team was still separated, the RT Washington, because when they parachuted in, they were separated. At 2 a.m, they couldn't see each other. I know Howard Sugar's radio was broken on the insertion, so he couldn't talk. So my job was to get down there and try to fire for him, but I couldn't initially because there was like 10 team members on the ground and they weren't together, so we couldn't just go shooting and have the possibility of shooting an American or one of the yards, one of the team members. So we had to get them together in a couple of bomb craters before we could actually fire for them to help break the contact. Because at that time they were already stacking their magazines along the bomb crater, and was just going to fight it out to the end. But fortunately, we were able to get down under there. We were able to get them together, fire for them, and then John Plaster called for the slicks to launch. It was the weather was breaking up a little bit by that time. So we were able to get the slicks in there and get them out without any casualties or anything. Worked out good.
Jeez, that is
and they had taken a lot of fire. They jumped right in the middle of a bunch of MVA soldiers, and they were taking fire. They could hear trucks. They could hear the Vietnamese talking, and one of the guys actually walked in on a bunch of them eating breakfast at a campsite and started firing.
Mark Gentry was fighting a squad by himself.
Yeah, you bet. And we couldn't, like I said, we couldn't help them out much until we got them all together where we knew where they were, because we didn't want to kill somebody that wasn't a bad guy.
Way too dangerous. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I hate to do this. I've got to make sure my computer didn't just blow up, because I can't even get it to turn on now, and my phone is about to die. Is there would it be okay? We're getting good questions in now, and maybe I'll be able to find my question link. Could we maybe plan to have y'all back next week and us finish up what we didn't get to cover today, and then do the question and answer to close out?
Sure.
You bet.
Problem.
No problem.
Okay, I want to apologize to not only y'all but the viewers, but it literally just blew up right here, and I've quickly got on my phone and jumped in since it'll link the count to where we could at least do this and let y'all know what was going on. So I want to apologize about that right off the bat.
Well,
no problem. It happened.
Yeah. There's internet problems today. I guess flights are getting canceled and all sorts of weird things.
Oh yeah, I just hope it didn't blow this thing up. But I'm gonna stay in touch with you guys. I'll get in touch with both of you next week, and maybe Monday or Tuesday or whenever y'all are available. I'll just stay in touch, and maybe we can link up towards the end of the week and do a show, a part 2.
Sounds good to me.
That sounds good.
Perfect. I want to thank you guys for joining us. We pulled an hour 17 minutes, and I think what we covered today went well, and I know the Q&A portion is going to be great. So everyone's thanking y'all for joining us.
I saw some of those
looking
questions.
Forward to part 2.
Okay. Well, see you guys next week.
Bet.
Yes, sir. See y'all later.
Adios.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, Brian.
Bye-bye. Bye, Woody.
Bye.
Bye, Bud.
Bye.
Bye, Brian.
Bye.